Hey everybody, welcome to Burn the Ship podcast, back with another episode with a new connection of mine, new friend of mine, Ryan Kimler here. It's appreciate you coming on today. Appreciate having you, sir. I think we're going to be able to learn a lot from you. I think you have a unique story, especially from what I've learned so far, and looking to kind of dive deeper into that. As always, Burn the Ship podcast, our goal is connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. Ryan has been a business resource for many, many years, and I'll kind of, won't steal his thunder. I'll let him tell that story. So I'm sure you guys are excited about learning it, as am I. So why don't you go ahead and give us an introduction? I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you and your business, a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to where you are today, and then we'll kind of discuss business as usual. So.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate the time and being on the podcast. So, yeah, like you said, my name is Ryan Kimler. I'm an accounting and financial professional. Today I work as a fractional CFO for a lot of different businesses. I started out at Illinois State University, double majored in accounting and finance, and then after that I went to work for a CPA firm. We really started doing bookkeeping and really compliance work for businesses to get their taxes filed. And my interactions with clients there was really where my passion started for helping, going beyond compliance, and wanting to help clients with more than that, wanting to help them with the financials and actually running their business by the numbers. So that's really where my passions got started. And it's really where I cut my teeth working with small businesses as well. So yeah, that's really kind of a background on how I got started, I guess.
Sure. What is business like now for you?
So now wearing a lot of hats for right now. I have an accounting firm that I'm really managing. Probably eventually going to get a partner to start managing that for me. And then personally, so I'm managing and coaching accountants that are working on clients' bookkeeping and accounts. And then personally, I'm working with some of those same clients, from a higher level fractional CFO service that I do personally.
Sure. So is your business still kind of in that growth mode? You're looking to acquire more clients, or you're kind of just leveraging the workload that you have now?
Absolutely. We're definitely still growing, looking to add more CFO clients and bookkeeping and accounting clients. From my experience and from working at a CPA firm and then, running my own firm and seeing a lot of businesses' books, unfortunately, entrepreneurs are really underserved when it comes to the bookkeeping and accounting industry. Is really how I feel about it. I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that they, just get their taxes done and they, see their CPA and work with their accountant maybe only once or twice a year. And really that's not enough. And so we are continuing to look to grow, so that we can, help more businesses, have a better grip on their numbers and their financials and have a clearer path to make better decisions.
Sure. So everything a business, every business owner goes through this transition when you have your own business of defining what your ideal client and what your ideal workspace is going to be. What have you guys identified as your ideal client, and how did you kind of get to that equation? How did you kind of get to the end of that problem and say, here's the people that we're going to work with?
Yep. So when I worked at the CPA firm, about 90% of our clientele was attorneys and law firms, and we still work with a lot of attorneys and law firms today because I do know that space really well. But really, what we found is, as long as you're, as an entrepreneur, you're tech savvy, right? We work with businesses all across the country. We're located in St. Louis, Missouri. But as long as you're tech savvy and willing to work with us, a lot over Zoom, obviously the pandemic has opened that up even more. We really find that we can work well with business owners, as long as they're willing to kind of go to the cloud and work with us on that, then things work out well.
Sure. So, what is the thing that you do well that is leaving a unique feel for your clients? Like, what is the thing that makes your business unique?
Yep, sure. So the biggest thing is I think is clarity, right? So my company name is Financial Clarity, right? And that's really the important thing. That's our number one goal, is to bring financial clarity to our clients. When I say financial clarity, that means that it's not that we are going to sit down with you and go over financial statements like a regular accountant would. It's that we are going to keep score for you and give you a scoreboard, um, and let you know, here's where you're winning the game, that you're trying to play. Here's where you're not winning. And we sit down with our clients and set objectives, for them to get done to change the areas where they're not winning. So we really bring clarity for them to be able to see, hey, here's where I'm not winning the game. Here's something that's not working like I would like it to. And then we set them on a clear path to, change the score of the game.
Sure. So, what is that impact? What is the impact that you see on that financial clarity picture once that business owner has arrived at that place? What is the impact that you see on their business?
Much stronger cash flow, much stronger profit, and those two things are not the same thing. I know that there's a lot of business owners out there that don't understand that gap. Profit is not cash flow. Cash flow is not profit. You can run a business for years without a profit. You can't run a business for a day without cash. So, but we see an increase in both. We help our business owners be more profitable and have a stronger cash flow. And a lot of times we're implementing a profit first, that system. That's part of what we do as well, to really set business owners up to have, strong cash flow and also some savings in the bank, kind of saving for a rainy day.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, I don't expect that there's going to be another big pandemic like COVID-19, but you never know. I mean, there's shifts in industries, things like that, that we want to prepare our entrepreneurs and our clients for, the best that we can.
Sure.
And so I think that's really the biggest impact that we can have is helping small businesses be strong.
Sure. What was the biggest skill that you lacked when you were going from a corporate environment to a self-owned small business environment? Like, what was the biggest growing pain?
Yeah, so the biggest growing pain is definitely around sales, right? Just figuring out how to get out there and become well known and also, earn that like, know, and trust factor, that we're going to do a good job. Part of the reason why I left the CPA firm was I didn't like how things were run. I didn't like how we were treating some of our clients. And I kind of, learned a few things of how I didn't want my firm to run. And I've worked really hard to set the precedent and set the expectation, that we're going to have great client service, and that we're going to do things right. And unfortunately, at the CPA firm, that wasn't always the case. We didn't always do things right. So the biggest growing pain has definitely been just, getting out there and know, like, and trust. And that was something that, while I worked at the CPA firm as an accountant, I didn't have exposure to. So that's been the biggest growing pain.
Sure. And how has, if you've continued to kind of grow in the sales space, continued to kind of grow that ability to get out there and talk to people, how has that affected every aspect of your life?
Networking has been huge for me, right? I mean, I've had, doors open that I, would have never even dreamed of, if it wasn't for networking and getting out there, getting in the sales space. And I've also grown personally, just making sales phone calls and things like that, were things that I was not exposed to before. And so I've had personal growth around it. I've had a lot of professional growth around it. And I've got some really key relationships today, a couple of mentors, that I wouldn't have had otherwise, that are super important to me, that have, impacted my life personally, and in my business. So,
sure. And what did you say that spark was, that catalyst for you to really go out on your own from? What was the thing that was changing around your life that at that point that made you want to go out on your own?
So I really, when I worked at the CPA firm, I knew, right, when I started seeing things kind of go downhill a little bit, and I knew that there were some clients that weren't really getting treated right. That really sparked a passion in me. When I realized, that there's a big gap between, just handing a business owner financials and expecting them to go over it and know what their business is doing, between that and actually like helping them and setting objectives, and helping them move their business forward. There's a huge gap there. And, I think unfortunately, a lot of small business owners don't ever get past the point of just receiving financials from a professional, from an accounting professional, or from a bookkeeper or whoever that is. And, there, if there's one thing that I lose sleep over, it's over a business owner saying, "Oh yeah, I have a good bookkeeper, I have a good financial system," and all they're doing is they've hired a generalist bookkeeper, from their community, and they just get, financials maybe on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis, and that's all they get. And they, there's nothing that burns me up inside more than seeing that, because, that generalist bookkeeper doesn't know how to serve that entrepreneur well and what that entrepreneur is looking for, and that entrepreneur doesn't know that there's even more out there than what they've seen is available.
Sure.
Kind of one of those things like, it's a Henry Ford saying that if I would have asked the people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, right? People don't know what they can have until they, or people don't know what they want until they know what they can have.
Sure.
And there's nothing, that burns me up inside more, or that sparks more passion in me than, finally seeing that gap exists and really wanting to change that gap for the long term.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's especially kind of unique to your industry and our industry alike, is that there are tons of companies out there that are never the reason. Like there's no bookkeeper or credit card processor or CPA or whatever that title is from a business services perspective that is so good that it's going to be a catalyst for success in your business. But there are a ton of people out there that are interfering with the success of your business. Like there's no credit card processor so good you're going to succeed, but they can definitely help you not. So I think that understanding your financials and your cash flow is definitely a similar space. It's a similar pain for a similar people, which is very, very unique. Do you see this happening more and more within your own industry? It seems like a lot of the people from those, power CPA firms are kind of spreading their wings and going out on their own as well. So,
yeah, I think that is happening, and I think some of the biggest challenges that those people have is they're used to auditing or doing tax compliance work for big companies, right, instead of small businesses. And, having accountants make that shift, to, from, maybe they were, out of Power 4 and they were, auditing like universities, or they're auditing like government entities, right? And you're talking like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? There's a big difference in working on something like that versus working with a small business owner, where a small change, pulling one lever can really adjust and make a huge difference in that small business's cash flow over the course of a year or 5 years, right? So making that shift for those people, I think, is the biggest challenge. But I mean, I would definitely agree with you. That is happening in the industry. And the other thing that's happening too is I've seen a lot of training programs that have come out, from people like that, people that were at a Big Four, they're an accountant, they put together a training program that, is supposed to be able to help people go from, well, I don't have any bookkeeping experience at all, to all of a sudden I can help small businesses. And, those training programs are never enough. And unfortunately, I think, the bookkeepers that go down that road, they get confidence and they get a certification and they think that they're ready to go. And really, they're just not. I mean, I've had hires that have come in and or people that I've looked at to hire that have those type of certifications, and they just don't have the skill set that I'm looking for.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's similar to your industry. is in ours is that you have to have a certain amount of time in the industry before you've seen enough scenarios and situations that you can really be complete in your industry. Like credit card processing is one of those things where you have to see so many merchant statements and so many technology solutions and just so many different unique scenarios and where people are within their business before you can really say, as a payment expert, here is what I think is the best solution for your business. And I'm sure accounting is that same way, is that you have to have spent a certain amount of time around certain industries to understand how cash is supposed to flow and how profit is supposed to be made in specific industries versus you've never seen this industry before. You don't really understand their cash flow. You don't really understand what type of people own these types of businesses, and you don't really understand what the best solution looks like for them. It's hard to give an out-of-the-box cookie-cutter approach to something as specific as a business service. And I think that not only people like you're talking about that are releasing these training programs, but actual just pieces of technology have disrupted both of our industries in a very strange way that make people feel a lot more secure about the solution than the solution is actually secure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's been a strange couple of years, man. It's a lot of technology is kind of masking the things that we do, but the most important thing that I think that you and I share is that all of these services come with that hometown feel. You have that cell phone number interaction, you have that after hours phone call, here's a question type of things. It's unique, and there's no way to really replace the way that we do business. I believe, there's technology and there's kind of these gimmicks and schemes that can kind of rival it, but there's not a lot of replacing the way that we do business, which is good for us, I think. Tell me a little bit about kind of your what is your family like? What is your hometown like? What is kind of the environment up there? What kind of promoted, hey, I'm going to grow nationally instead of kind of owning your backyard first, or did you take that approach?
Sure. So, I have moved around a little bit recently. I actually I went to Illinois, like I shared before, I went to Illinois State University. And then Illinois State University is located in Bloomington Normal, Illinois. And I stayed in Bloomington Normal. I lived there for, 8 or 9 years probably. And then, kind of decided that I wanted something bigger. And so ended up, deciding to move to St. Louis. Originally, I started out just only working with lawyers. That's where I shared, that's where I cut my teeth at the CPA firm. I mean, over in a time frame of a little over 5 years, I worked with a little over 200 law firms. So I really got to know that space well. The problem is, looking just in your own backyard. I mean, there's only so many law firms, right, around, my direct area in Bloomington Normal. And so, being national really, and with the technology today, I mean, it just makes sense, right? I mean, and so being national really broadened that customer base and broadened those opportunities. And that's the way the CPA firm was that I worked at as well, was that they, worked coast to coast. And with technology, I mean, I think that just makes sense. So I really didn't start out looking to just be local. And I just, started out being, I'll work with anybody in the U.S.
Sure. What does that business community look like in St. Louis? Is there a lot of kind of intertwined business community there that if you wanted to attack that network, you could? For
sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of local networking groups and bar associations as well. That if I, county and city, that if I really wanted to jump into those, that I absolutely could.
Sure. Well, cool, man. This has been a good podcast, man. I'm excited to see where your journey takes you from here. I really am. I think that the service that you provide and the clarity that you provide to a lot of business owners is something that really helps people sleep well at night, which is something that our products share in common. So any source that we can be to you or any of your clients over at Burn the Ship or at the MP Group, please let us know. Tell us the name of your company one more time and how we can get in touch with you, please.
Absolutely. So the name of my company is Financial Clarity. You can find me at www.financialclarityllc.com. I'm sure that'll be in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find me on LinkedIn, Ryan Kimler. So yeah,
Cool.
That's probably the best ways to find me is either my website. I have a contact page on there that you can book a call with me.
Cool.
If you're interested in scheduling a call for services, or finding me on LinkedIn.
Sure. And then tell us, what does burning the ship mean to you? You know, what is really jumping off that ship and going all in on your business? If you had to sum that experience up and say something to, the audience that is kind of prospecting that same leap, what would you say to those people?
Sure. So I will tell you, it takes guts, right? I mean, obviously, me coming from a non-sales background, right? It was scary. It takes guts, but on the back side of it, right, there's huge growth opportunities, both personally and professionally. And so it's worth it.
Sure. It absolutely is. I agree. Well, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you. Hope to have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate you having me.
Cool.
Thank you.